I'd like to open the December meeting of the Metro North Long Island Committee. I ask that we observe a moment of silence for those who tragically died too soon and for those whose lives have been forever changed in Newtown, Connecticut. Thank you. We have 4 public speakers. Orrin Getz, New Jersey ARP, talk about operations.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Orrin Getz, and I'm from the west of Hudson. First thing is I'd like to compliment the MTA. You have full service running on all the Long Island branches and on Metro North's Harlem, Hudson, and New Haven lines. West of Hudson, however, there's still an ongoing problem. Full schedules have not been activated yet on the Pascack Valley and Port Jervis lines, and the latest information is that won't happen until February 2013, which is unacceptable. And according to New Jersey, that's due to a shortage of cars and locomotives. As I mentioned at the last meeting, New Jersey Transit had 63 locomotives and 261 cars damaged by the flooding. Also, Metro North had 7 locomotives and 6 cars assigned to West of Hudson services that were damaged by the flooding. I attended the New Jersey Transit Board meeting last Thursday and requested that a complete status be provided on all cars and locomotives, including Metro North's cars and locomotives. So far, nothing has been provided to us by New Jersey Transit. I also complained about the slow service recovery on the Pascack Valley line. It took 10 days longer to restore any service on the Pascack Valley line than it took the Long Island Railroad to restore service on the Ronkonkoma line. In response to my comments, Executive Director James Weinstein promised that they would look into the service restoration on the Pascack Valley line. It was also reported at the New Jersey Transit's board meeting that there was significant damage to the Meadows Maintenance Complex in Kearny, New Jersey, and that the flooding is knocked out the power and that the operation is still being supported through backup generators. With the Meadows Maintenance Complex crippled, New Jersey Transit's having an extremely difficult time in repairing those cars and locomotives that were damaged by the flooding. This is why I'm asking the MTA to help New Jersey Transit. Possibly the Long Island Railroad can help fix some of the damaged traction motors and get some of the damaged locomotives back in service. Possibly some of the damaged cars could be moved to the Long Island Railroad and Metro North facilities for repair. The MTA has large trucks that can flatbed rail cars if necessary. Metro North also has a fleet of Bombardier coaches, similar to New Jersey Transit's Bombardier coaches. So possibly Metro North can help fix some of New Jersey Transit's Bombardier coaches. When Metro North purchased the 65 new Comet 5 cars west of Hudson back in 2003, Metro North's Bombardier coaches used on the Port Jervis line were moved to east of Hudson. Possibly some of these cars could temporarily move back to the west of Hudson to help us clear those equipment shortages and help us get full service restored on the Pascack Valley and Port Jervis lines. I'm appealing to you. They really need help, even if they're not asking for it. Please reach out to them and see what can be done to get us full service. February 2013 is just totally unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. So our second public speaker is George Hakalis to speak on the Long Island Railroad and the East Side Access.
Good morning. My name is George Hakalis, and I'm president of the Institute for Rational Urban Mobility, a New York City-based nonprofit concerned with reducing car use and improving the livability of dense urban areas. I'm a civil engineer and a transportation planner with nearly 50 years of experience with transportation issues in the New York area. IRM respectfully requests that MTA heed the warnings of 4 fire safety egress experts who have raised grave concerns about the ability of as many as 8,000 Long Island Railroad passengers to exit in a safe and timely way from MTA's East Side Access project, some 150 feet below Park Avenue, in the event of a fire or a terrorist attack. I'd urge you to read the letter that's attached to the material I've distributed to the board. MTA should conduct an independent third-party review of the relative risks, benefits, and costs of redirecting this project to existing platforms and tracks at Grand Central Terminal, the world's largest railway station. The Delcan Corporation, Canada's largest engineering firm, developed a plan, which is shown above in that handout, that would bring Long Island Railroad trains into the 5 existing tracks that connect to the terminal's little-used upper-level loop. This would avoid the risk of a deep cavern station while saving Long Island Railroad passengers 3 to 4 minutes of travel time in each direction. This plan would also avoid the substantial recurring costs, of maintaining the 47 escalators and several ventilating plants needed for the deep cavern terminal. MTA can gain expedited environmental approvals for this change, given the great risks associated with the current deep cavern plan. If Governor Christie had the good sense to drop New Jersey Transit's deep cavern plan, Governor Cuomo should follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third public speaker, Murray Bowden from Concerned Grandparents.
My name is Murray Bowden, and I do represent Concerned Grandparents in this events of the last few days. I went back and I got one of the original membership cards for Concerned Grandparents. It was designed for my friend John, who we used to sit in his office and talk about 2 things, grandchildren and the Tappan Zee Bridge. John was the executive director of the Thruway. Eventually he had triplets. His son had triplets, and I made this card up in honor of that fact, and I gave it to him. It's got an email address I haven't used for years. You know I'm concerned with grandparenting because my grandson Daniel and Emily were here a number of years ago. Daniel spoke here and asked for a Metro-North station at Yankee Stadium, and lo and behold, there is now a Metro-North station at Yankee Stadium. My granddaughter Samantha last year was here, and she's a New York City kid, and she addressed the board. So coming as a representative of the next generation, I realized that things have to change. We've been doing things the same way for too long. At the Port Authority board meeting, I decided that I had to change the tenor of the meeting, and I told the board that I was going to walk around the podium, which is on a side like here, and address the board from the middle. And I did it at the Port Authority for one reason. They have the best video system. And I've sent that video out to any number of people as proof that things do change. And so this morning I'm going to present this membership in the Concerned Grandparents to a board member who recently became a grandparent. And I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to walk up right up the middle and hand it to him and change the way you think about things. I realize it's never been done before. It's a symbol of how you need to think about things. I realize that nobody else will be able to do this again. At the Port Authority, I was the first, and there were 6 speakers after me, and nobody attempted to do the same thing. This is an object lesson as to whether or not you're ready to think about doing things in a new way. I'm now going, you see both my hands, I'm now going to move this thing, walk around, and walk up the mat and give this to Mitch. I'm sorry?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, first of all, if you want to touch me,
I will touch you.
you're going to have to warn me first on the record that I'm going to do something that's prohibited.
Murray,
You
we ask that
cannot-
you don't come around the podium, that you hand the card to the detective, and he will hand it to Mr. Paley.
Who's speaking?
Chief of the Police Department.
Would you please give that to Mitch?
Thank you.
Thank you. I have 4 more meetings today, 3 more here at the MTA and at the New York State Thruway Board meeting. It's time we looked at these problems differently. And only instances where I make you think about things you've been doing as routine for years and years and years. It's time they changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve the minutes of November 26th. No, oh, I'm sorry. Bill Henderson, Executive Director, PCAC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I just want to make a brief comment about some of the misunderstandings that have attended the on-time performance data that Long Island Railroad released in last week. In our view, it's vitally important that the data that's released remain consistent and from month to month, and that's not only so people can bash the railroad. Everyone knows that November was a difficult month. We need to have a consistent data stream so we understand what the impacts of disasters that we had, such as Sandy, can be on the system and can be on the riders. We've always talked about putting data out that reflects the rider experience. And the way to do that is to be as straightforward and as consistent as you can in stating both the good and the bad and the impacts of unforeseen events and perhaps what can be done. That can lead to solutions to what can be done to mitigate those unforeseen events in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of November 26th. Second, all in favor? Any opposed? No. 2012 work plan. I don't think there are any changes. Howard.
Okay, thank you and good morning to everyone. Let me start with something that for me is always very bittersweet. It's the announcement of the retirement of a long-standing excellent member of the Metro-North team, Danny O'Connell. Danny, could you just come up for one moment? Just over, come up. Let me just tell you a minute about Danny and his background and what he's done at Metro-North. He is our Director of Operations Planning Analysis. He worked 33 years at Metro-North, so that includes time before at Conrail. When he started as a ticket agent, worked his way up through a series of jobs till he became head of Operations Planning and Analysis in 2009. This, as many of you know, is a really critical position in Metro-North. It's an agent of change within our organization. Danny has done this throughout. He's had a whole host of innovative firsts. Let me just highlight a couple of them. In 1987, he implemented the first interactive voice response system for our scheduling and our fares. In 1989, he helped modernize our public address system. He's kicked off the industry's first ever automated public address system, much of which is still in use today at Metro-North and at Long Island Railroad, which are descendants of these systems. In the world of connecting services, many of you know Metro-North is unique in that we have both operating buses and ferries, and this has been Danny's role. He's worked with the state of New York, NISDOT, for many years to fund these services, so it does not come out of the MTA fund sources. Danny's the one who founded the Hudson Rail Link. He has managed it for all its years. Today, the Hudson Rail Link carries about almost 2,000 riders every day based on the results of what he's done. And finally, the Haverstraw-Ossining Ferry. We started those services in 2000 and 2005. It's been a great benefit for Rockland and Orange counties. Danny has both founded them and managed those services. Beyond all that, he has always been, he's highly respected by his colleagues, people who work with him, and by myself. And I know I will personally miss him greatly, as will the whole Metro-North family. So just ask for a round of applause for Danny.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, as I said, unfortunately, I think we'll be having many of these announcements over the course of the next year. Moving on, and let me talk about the ferries for a minute. I wanted to let the committee know that we reached a critical agreement with NISDOT last month to extend the funding of the Haverstraw-Ossining and Newburgh Beacon Ferry for another 2 years. So we're going to be using a mix of federal monies provided by the state and some Metro-North money. This will now allow us to exercise the last 2-year option with New York Waterway, who provides the service. All these actions you approved in December 2010, you authorized me to exercise the option as well as get the receipt of the federal money. So where we stand now is we now have an agreement for 2 more years. Post-2014, we will again be looking for a permanent fund source. This is, as you know, been an ongoing having to do this on a month-to-month, every couple of year basis. We'll also be looking for a new ferry operator. We'll go on RFP. I shouldn't say new. We'll go out for an RFP. We'll see what the response is to that. The ferry, as you know, just to put it in perspective, carries over almost 2,000 people a day. We have over 600 parking spaces west of Hudson. New York Waterway, who is the operator, has done a terrific job. We operated over 99% on time for the ferry. The other thing I do want to mention on the ferry, which is outside of this action, is that the board had previously approved the construction of a new dock at Haverstraw using federal money. We'll be doing that. Also, Hurricane Sandy had severe damage to the dock in, it was the Haverstraw dock. And so we are working to get funding between FEMA and insurance and a couple of other sources to try to find money to rebuild that dock. So that's one thing to bring everyone up to date is on the ferry. Another item I want to mention is that starting January 1st, fares on the Connecticut portion New Haven line will be increasing by 5%. This generates about $10 million in revenue, of which we get a share a little bit over $1 million. This was approved by the MTA Board in October of 2011. This is the Connecticut has a plan for 3 annual fare increases. This is the second one. This will affect travel between Connecticut and New York, so no impact on the fares within New York State. The only New York State residents who are affected are those who reverse commute to Connecticut. They will have a higher fare increase. There's a complete communication plan in place to inform the customers about this fare increase. With regard to operations, let me first say that the numbers we have basically show for the month of November. We're excluding November 1st and 2nd, which was that Thursday and Friday when we were bringing the system back up and running portions as we could open them. Overall, the on-time performance for November is very pleased, even though the number went down. It was 95.7%. However, it would have been 97.7%, but for 3 major events that were somewhat related to hurricane, but not completely. One was the nor'easter that we had. The second was we had a switch problem that may or may not have come out of that. And then third, we had a terrible day, one day of slip slide, when the trains are sliding on the rails, and we slowed them down for safety purposes, and just about all the trains were late. With regard to CONSIS compliance, I'm very pleased we continue to operate at almost 100%. We did have a number of wheels that got flattened due to the slip slide, but we were able to catch up. That had a small impact on CONSIS compliance. On safety, we're on track for our 3rd best year ever. Injuries are roughly down 10%. Total injuries, customer injuries are down over 20%. Financially, the October results include the preliminary impacts of Tropical Storm Sandy. You've heard a lot about that. Basically, what we have there is both reduced revenues and increased costs. Overall, the total operating revenue is close to the mid-year forecast. Farebox revenue is down a little bit. It's being offset by higher advertising revenues, non-fare revenues we're generating. and expenses continue to be very favorable. This is due to lower energy costs, lower material costs, control of overtime. And so our October year-to-date adjusted fare box operating ratio is 70%. That's 2.9% over what the mid-year forecast has. With regard to ridership, the month of November showed a decrease driven in large part by Sandy. We're hopeful that we'll see a bounce back. Total system ridership was down 8.9% versus the previous year. If we had taken our estimate of Sandy out, it would have been about 2.2% higher than 2011. Year to date, we're now up 1.1%. Again, if we took out Sandy, we think it would be about 3.2%. But that's something we have to watch very carefully because with all the loss of employment and opportunities in Lower Manhattan, we need to see if that continues in the month of December or not. We don't know. The off-peak and weekend ridership expansion we put in October, results are extremely positive. We're monitoring that. We'll have a full report for you in the first quarter of 2013. The other thing I will mention is we did set 2 ridership records in November. One is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We carried the most people ever between 12 noon and 8 p.m. You may know that's the single busiest time on Metro North in the entire year. We carried 96,000 people, which was 3% higher than the previous year. And on Thanksgiving Day, we had the busiest day ever. We carried 83,000 people, so that was up 2,000 over the previous period. And then finally, I had one other item. Yes, I just wanted to mention in Grand Central, 2 things ongoing. The holiday fair is continuing and urge everyone to go shop at the fair. And secondly, the Transit Museum has its 11th annual holiday train show, which is a great show that has with the model trains, and that has been drawing large crowds. And again, urge everyone to go see that. And that is my report for this month.
Any questions for Howard? Jim?
Thank you, Howard, for that concise report. I just wanted to follow up on Bill's comment, Bill Henderson's comment concerning west of Hudson. It's an item which has certainly generated some significant comment and consternation, I would say, by our representatives and the ridership over there with a 3-hour gap in service. I've had conversations with staff concerning the devastation that New Jersey Transit has experienced. And I guess I just would like to have some comment, if we could, on the record as to the efforts that are being made by our organization to speak with and intercede on behalf of the west of Hudson riders with New Jersey Transit, even given the difficulties that they are experiencing.
Okay, we have talked to New Jersey Transit throughout from before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. We have offered, wherever we can, assistance to New Jersey Transit. There are many complicating factors as to how much we can or cannot do to help them. We have offered any assistance they would like for us to help them. They, as I think one of the speakers pointed out, took severe damage to their equipment, and that is now the major factor affecting service restoration on the Port Jervis-Pascack Valley line. Some of their other lines, they still have huge right-of-way damage. They had huge right-of-way damage on the Pascack, the main Bergen and Pascack, which is why it took so long to come back. There was no power to the grade crossings, and you cannot operate that train without that line without the grade crossings operating. But once they've come back, they have worked with us, and I want to say very closely, within their limitations to put out the best possible service. And we worked with them to get the best service for the last schedule, given how much equipment they had. It was a very cooperative discussion in terms of how best to use it. We have talked to them as recently as this morning to again find out the status. It's my understanding that they will not have the full fleet back until sometime in January or February, as was pointed out. And we will work with them to see when we can get the trains that are missing put back into the schedule. From their standpoint, they are balancing all the different things they have. We're part of a bigger system. I know they are giving us the same treatment, equitable treatment across the whole system. And we will follow up with them and talk to them as much as we can. They're in a very difficult situation with that amount of equipment damage.
Thank you. I just, I meant to say the comments that were generated by Oren.
Okay.
Any other questions? Helena?
Okay, good morning. I am pleased to report that as of Monday, December 10th, the Long Island Railroad returned to full AM and PM peak period service following repairs to the signal system in 2 of Amtrak's East River tunnels that were damaged during the Hurricane Sandy. I'm pleased to note that as of this morning, Line 1 was fully restored with the new signal system. They completed the cutover over the weekend. Last weekend, they completed the Line 2 cutover and made improvements to the temporary signal system in Line 1. And those improvements allowed us to restore full AM and PM service. This morning, of course, we have the added flexibility of knowing that we have the Line 1 completed as well. Although we were able to restore service on 4 of our busiest branches within 72 hours of the storm, many of our trains had remained crowded due to the capacity issues in the East River Tunnel. Originally, Amtrak had proposed completing the repairs in mid-January. I am very pleased to say that we asked them to accelerate that schedule with some urgency attached to it so that we could provide a full level of service during the holiday season. And they were able to meet that schedule. I want to thank Amtrak for their cooperation in this. And I would like to thank Mark Epstein of the Commuter Council for coming forward as well to express his concern about that schedule, and Congressman Steve Israel for his support as well. I also have to take a moment and commend our own employees. They did an outstanding job. The Signal and Communications shop in Garden City, under the direction of our chief engineer, Kevin Tomlinson, actually did the rewiring of one of the signal cases. There were 5 that had to be done. Amtrak undertook 4 of them, and we undertook 1. These are 20-foot long metal cases that had to be completely rewired from scratch. Our signalman did an outstanding job, and I really want to commend both the signalman, the management team, and Kevin. It was really a 24-hour, around-the-clock job where we followed a layout that Amtrak had provided and went through all the testing to get it done. So while we're back in full service, I do want to point out that our system remains fragile. Many of our backup systems that were in place prior to Sandy are not there. We have a lot of work yet to do to restore our infrastructure to a level that it was prior to the storm. Joe, we thank you for your leadership on that point in Washington. We hope to see an opportunity to further restore our system with the funding that may come. It will be a significant undertaking and will require that we examine where we can actually make improvements as we do some of the repairs, and then as a separate effort, mitigate against future storms. Now, again, I would just like to reiterate that we're back to full peak service, and we're also adding additional trains on the weekends and the overnight to provide extra service during the holiday season. I would like to take a moment to address on-time performance. There were comments by Bill Henderson, comments by various board members, Mark Epstein as well. In the month of November, we announced the use of modified schedules in lieu of regular schedules. And as you know, that's an effort Long Island Railroad has worked very hard on, to have 4 pre-programmed modified schedules. This came out of the dreaded winter of 2010, 2011, where we had a lot of difficulty communicating to our customers what the schedule would be. So we developed these modified schedules. We have them pre-programmed. We can actually load them into our AVPS system, which then improves communication with our customers, which was one of our keys. The schedules that we ended up using in the month of November actually offered 3,500 fewer trains than regular weekday schedules. Due to anticipated crowding conditions and reduced tunnel capacity, we also announced a pre-scheduled delay range of up to 15 minutes. More than 750 trains operated within this delay range. In total, more than 2,000 trains operated later than the standard 5 minutes and 59 seconds under our regular OTP analysis. I did want to ensure, because I did get a number of questions about the modified schedule with the pre-announced delay range of 15 minutes, gave us an OTP of 91.90. That's in the book. Because we were asked, well, what would your OTP be if you applied it against the 5 minutes and 59 seconds? We've distributed a handout, and you'll see that the handout shows that the OTP against that standard would be 88.1%. I also asked my staff just to do a calculation, notwithstanding the fact that we announced in advance the elimination of 3,500 trains, what would the OTP be if it were just measured against a normal schedule with all the trains counted? And I am sad to report that would have been 71.3%. We are keenly aware that the damage from this unprecedented storm created a difficult commuting challenge for many of our customers. We also recognize the importance of accurate reporting and delay statistics. We did want to reflect our performance against what we told our customers. So if you take into account, we told them that all the trains would be approximately 15 minutes late, then you would look at the 91.9. If you wanted to measure against the standard performance under normal operating circumstances where we give ourselves 5 minutes and 59 seconds, then you'd say your OTP was 88.1. Needless to say, Long Island Railroad could not do a standee report during this time period. We eliminated that from the operations report because trains were so crowded it was impossible to do a true standee analysis. As you know, the monthly standee report is more of a mathematical calculation based on the number of people per train on our ridership book. I do want to point out that from a safety perspective, employee injuries were down 22% year to date, and the FRA reportable injuries are down 13%. We were very pleased at the safety record. Employees were very conscious of the need for safety throughout Sandy, and particularly I have to highlight our maintenance of equipment where they did an outstanding job for a period that was really injury-free for a number of days. Customer injuries are up slightly 1% year to year, but that has more to do with the frequency index being down. That's the good news. We're actually safer, but we had more ridership. So the number overall went up because our ridership had been growing up until November, 13 months of growth. So we are watching the customer injury analysis. And then finally, I wanted to take a moment and just bring the committee up to date on a very important project, Wyandanch Rising, which is in Suffolk County on our main line. As you may recall, this board approved a property exchange with the town of Babylon to further an exciting and very, I think, transformative for this community transit-oriented development project in Wyandanch. It's a distressed area economically, and there's an opportunity to bring in a mixed-use development. We've been collaborating with the town and other stakeholders to try to ensure that there are transit services. In June, we indicated that the Long Island Railroad and the town would enter into a binding agreement. I'm pleased to say that we have now signed that MOU. which in addition to ensuring continued parking, one of the issues we always face on Long Island, and I know probably Metro North faces it as well, everybody looks at parking lots as an opportunity to develop the parking lot, and we are left saying, no, we need our parking lot because that's where our customers park. In this case, we were able to do a land swap, which will preserve parking, as well as give this developer an opportunity for creating almost a downtown effect in Wyandanch. So we have executed those agreements. We're very excited about that. The project certainly integrates with the county executive's Connect Long Island plan, and it certainly connects with our own double track strategy. So with that, we will continue moving forward on both Wyandanch and the double track project. And that's really it.
Any questions?
Regarding the dual on-time performance figures, I'm probably more annoyed than anybody else about this. When Mark Epstein told me, he knew that. He said, wait till you hear this. And I also didn't say anything because I knew you'd probably produce dual statistics, ones that show 5 minutes and 59 seconds. And I think it's important to keep with that standard regardless of what happens, because that's the standard. I don't, on the reports every month it says trains over 15 minutes late, and that number's the same on both, and that shows us that. Telling people there's going to be a delay and then changing our standard is not, I don't think the passenger sees it that way. I think they say the train's late. Okay, thank you for telling me it's late. I don't think have we ever done this before? Have we ever, told people, there's delays of 15 minutes throughout the system? We don't change our standard, do we?
Well, this is the first time we're using the modified schedules, which are pre-programmed. Normally, you would add running time in the schedule. So that the customer wouldn't get the sense that the trains are running late because the running time would be longer. But we're unable to do that with modified schedules.
Right, but modified, that's the schedule, the modified schedule. In other words, okay. Right. The modified, the statistics we see here are based on the modified schedule, correct?
Yes, you are
Both
seeing the pre-programmed modified schedules
right, that's fine.
that we loaded.
So we're using our standard for November is based on the modified schedule, whether it's 5 minutes 59 seconds from one set or 15 minutes for the other. Is that correct? You see what I mean?
Yeah, the modified schedule is what is used in both.
Right.
Of
So
those.
I still don't see. Since we're using actually, for the simple fact that we are using a modified schedule, I would think we would keep to the 5 minute and 59 second standard.
I guess that the only issue that I would respond to, Ira, is that, the modified schedules are pre-developed before the catastrophe.
Okay.
So you're not able to then tweak them to manage the catastrophe. For example, we tried to do something very special in Lynbrook to accommodate the Long Beach branch, which had no service. So we did a connection in Lynbrook on the Babylon branch, which dramatically affected our ability to perform within 5 minutes and 9 seconds on the Babylon branch. But we thought it was very important for Long Beach to have that service. We wanted to do something very different for them, which was the diesel service, and make that connection in Lynbrook. But because the schedules, were modified, it's difficult to add running time to accommodate that. So we believe in our modified schedule system. It makes us more nimble and capable of communicating with our customers. We recognize the importance of the 5 minutes and 59 seconds, so we've produced that. I would say that there may be circumstances in the future where relief from OTP makes sense. And we will come back to the board and, address what we think may be more reasonable. But at this point, we will ensure that our annual statistics show the 5 minutes and 59 seconds.
With the added footnote of this was because of the storm. I mean, this was a severe event. The thing that also, just as a concluding statement, you go to the standard, a lot of these delays were because of the problems in the East River tunnels. And as we all know, discussions in the press and discussions among ourselves regarding the Amtrak did not move as fast as we would like. And we certainly could have moved faster.
Yes.
Now, that's a fact, the way Amtrak operates, the way we operate, and the way we look at these tunnels. But in some ways, this 15-minute standard covered that up. Not intentionally, I'm not saying it did, but that's the effect of it. And I looked at it and I said, why are we letting Amtrak off the hook? was one of my reactions to seeing this. And I knew, I didn't contact you. I just talked with Mark Epstein. I knew that you produce the 5-minute 59 second. I'm happy that this will be, the 5-minute 59 standard will be the statistics that will carry forward through our annual numbers.
Yes, and like baseball will include a footnote.
Okay. Thank you. The last question I have on the on-time is... Well, we weren't operating on steroids. West
Or an extended schedule.
Right.
West Hempstead.
But we could change the parameters of the park.
We can't shrink Long Island as much as you might like to do that.
God's doing it already.
Yeah, that's right.
What?
God did it.
I live on Long Island. Don't say that. West Hempstead branch.
Yes.
Weekend on-time performance. I thought we don't run service on the weekends.
We don't.
Well, then why? How can it be what it is in this on-time performance statistics? It says, and the revised it says 40% of the trains on West Hempstead branch on the weekend are on time.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and scrub.
Yes, to
There's
check
no
those
weekend
West
performance
Hempstead
on
numbers,
West
because
Hempstead.
I've seen them for a few months and wondering.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, no, either it's 100 or zero,
No,
right?
I'm sorry. Mike is reminding me.
Yeah.
We have a train overnight on Friday. So you're seeing
Oh,
that Friday before the shutdown.
Oh, so this
you're
is
seeing
one
the
train.
last train.
There's
Whatever.
there's one train in that statistic.
Yeah.
That's why.
Because it's not
That's
a
why either it's
pure
100% or
Right.
really low. Okay, for the
Right,
month. I
right.
see. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Yeah.
Jim, let me just add, if nothing else out of that conversation and the earlier conversation with regard to the west of the Hudson line, it clearly shows that sometimes we are not the sole ability to get something done. We are dependent upon other entities or other agencies, whether it's Amtrak in the tunnels or New Jersey Transit in Pascack Valley, to provide service for our commuters to the best of their ability, when to them that service may not be the highest priority. To us it is, but to them it may not be. And that unfortunately impacts our ability to provide direct service to our commuters in the best way possible. It's an unfortunate occurrence, one which I think we would all hope we could solve. As I've said many times, we're more than happy to take over the tunnels, and I'm sure Howard would be more than happy to take over Pascack Valley, but unfortunately it has not happened yet, although we will continue to pursue it. Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions? Michael?
Okay, the East Side access performance during the last month, the excavation and mucking removal in the Grand Central East Cavern and West Cavern continues, and we are monitoring the performance in order to actually achieve the substantial completion date of June 2013. At the same time, above it, the concourse for the future Long Island Railroad station, we are continuing to install the subgrade utilities, and that again is proceeding well. At the we have three locations, and we 44th Street, 50th Street, and 55th Street, where we are basically proceeding to bring the various the vent plants, and at this point 44th Street is actually we extended some of the work there, so it will be completed as well sometime during the summer. The 50th Street is the steel erection and decking continue through December, and the 55th Street, where we expect to have an impact to a certain degree around the site, we are in effect putting in place a outreach and plan and participation plan to make sure that the various signages, fence wraps, and business logos are going to be in place during the construction. At this point, actually, I would like to shift to the Queen side, and I would say that we expected to finish the installation of the catenary structures and steel installations. We targeted for the end of December. We are impacted by Sandy, and at this point, we expect that to occur in February. One of the things that I would like to note, and actually I have some slides for it, is probably the one that from an engineering point of view and construction point of view was extremely risky, and this is the completion of the Northern Boulevard crossing, underground crossing. This is the access chamber in Queens, right about here. We are entering under Northern Boulevard. Next. Okay. Here is what we expect there, or what we have done there. We have the elevated structure, then the I&D subway that is going towards us, and then the Northern Boulevard crossing that's about 10 feet below that, and we had to support the structure above because there are existing piles that are going through. The way we've done it is, in effect, as you can see, is 11 feet right here below that. We are having a ground freeze arch, and we have 7 bites, so to speak, so in which we are. I'm sorry. Didn't expect that to happen. It's an intermezzo, I guess. We actually will show you exactly how we achieve that. Go next. The first one, we started to number 1, and that particular drift, we advanced in 4 feet. Then we went to the number 2. And then this is number 1. You see it right there when we started it in Queens. Next. This is the advance in June last year. Next. This is drift number 2. This is on the other side, again, it's taken in June. We had a breakthrough, the Northern Boulevard to the other side in September. Next. This is how it looks actually in November, in which we have the arch. The 4 piles that you see are temporary piles that eventually will be taken down. We are supporting the structure above. And once we're finishing, in effect, supporting this, the final stages, they will come down. This is the arch right now. You can get a sense, actually, if we go to the next one, to the size of the people vis-a-vis the height. This is really, it's about 45 feet tall, this whole thing. And the next one, it will show that we actually installed the part of the lower invert, and we are putting the ring girders. This is the girder. You can see it right here. It's pretty substantial. And once we're done with the total completion, that expected to be February, March about March probably this year, we'll be cutting down the temporary support. Everything will be supported on that. And at that point, we're going to start, in effect, taking down the freezing plant. At this point, we still have it in place, and that's going to be a very critical thing because the potential movement of the ground once you start defrosting, it's critical, and it has to be done in such a way so it will not affect the subway above it. So we're not totally out of the woods, but we are now actually connecting.
When do you defreeze?
Probably March.
Any questions? Ira.
Yes, well, a comment. I just wish you'd stop using the word risky. I happen to sometimes travel on Northern Boulevard, so.
Listen, I'm actually, I have not personally been involved from a construction point of view, anything riskier than that. So it is a very complex, very delicate procedure. So I'm calling it the way it is. But it's a controlled, risk, let's put it that way. We are working carefully around it, and knock wood, we've done well until now.
I have a question. The August 2019 date for completion, we still feel we're on track for that, even though there's been delays in the final 3 procurements.
What I would say at this point is that we are analyzing the procurements. Actually, one procurement is being delayed, not three. And I will be back probably in January with a more detailed analysis on that. I cannot tell you at this point exactly where we are.
Question for you. This flyer that we have here on the deep caverns here under Grand Central, and this sort of contradicts that, says it doesn't need to be that deep. I'm sure that there's a reason that this was made this deep.
First, I have not seen that, so
Oh,
I
okay.
cannot comment on something I've not seen.
I'll discuss it with you later then.
Please do.
But there has been much discussion about the alignment for the tunnels that predate both Michael, me. They probably don't predate Howard. You know.
That was really depressing.
Good.
There
You were
was,
set
you know, a number of factors. I'm going to speak to what I know.
Yeah.
You know, Howard, I would ask if you would speak to what you know. You know, first of all, had Long Island Railroad gone into the lower level of Grand Central, it would have completely disrupted Metro North's ability to grow the service that it has grown very successfully. Clearly, Howard, you would speak to that. Moreover, there were many issues about the alignment in terms of the subways and the utilities, including many Con Edison infrastructure items. And the solution was that we had to use the bedrock because it was, you know, excellent for drilling to make the connection to Grand Central. So I'm going to turn over to Howard, who's
Just say very briefly, Carl, this was studied, unfortunately, I said, most of this does not predate me, though the original plan did. That was in the 60s. There was an EIS done. This was all looked at. Helena said is correct. There was severe impacts to Metro North if Long Island came in on the lower level in terms of reducing Metro North capacity. Furthermore, to the point that Helena talked about, that if there was a lower level, by using the bedrock, you avoided the need to underpin not only Park Avenue Tunnel, which would have been a severe cost, but all the buildings on Park Avenue. And so by going deep, there was a huge cost avoidance. And so when the EIS was done, I think it was 2002, my memory serves me right.
Yeah,
this was all looked at,
Yeah.
and that was the conclusion for that alignment.
Okay, that's good enough for me. I just knew there was a reason for it. We don't go deep because we like the depth.
Chuck.
First, I'd like to thank Dr. Haraduchanu for pointing out that this is a risky job and a difficult time, so that no one can have afterthoughts that that was not pointed out in timely and appropriate fashion. Secondly, I'm delighted to hear that both Ms. Williams and Mr. Permit have focused on this historical desire to align the tracks appropriately, and I look forward to the 4 railroad stations in the Bronx at the earliest possible date, thereby to ensure proper alignment.
Any other questions? Chief.
Morning. We had a very good November. We were down 39% compared to last year. 17 incidents compared to 28 in November 11th. That brings us down 9% for the year, which includes a 27% reduction in robberies and a 17% reduction in assaults. I mentioned the assaults. I attribute that to the alcohol ban that was put in place in May on Friday and Saturday evenings from midnight to 5 a.m., which has brought assaults down 23% in the Long Island Railroad side. So that seemed to be very successful, and it's ongoing. If there's any questions.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you. Metro North information items.
Okay, so
Committee work plan.
I think the committee, the only thing I say in the work plan is that we have coordinated with Long Island Railroad, so even though we'll be having some joint, some separate meetings, it's a coordinated work plan. With regard to the elevator and escalator report, let me just take a minute to address this. First, I'm very pleased that with regard to our outlying stations, the elevator reliability is very, very good. and that's something we work hard at, and we will stay focused on that. That's a very significant access for many Metro North stations. With regard to Grand Central, I'll tell you we are not satisfied with where we are, either on elevators or escalators. We have a very detailed work plan in place. I think we previously discussed that, but just to give you the highlights again, this past summer we did a complete assessment, particularly on the escalators. The elevators are being rehabbed, but the escalators we did a complete assessment. This past fall we terminated the previous contractor. We have been writing a contract that Helena got for the Long Island Railroad for a new escalator contractor who is responsible for not only maintaining the escalators but rebuilding them. Right now we are rebuilding the 4 escalators by the by the marketplace on the east end of Grand Central. I anticipate that to be done within a week or so. We will then rebuild the 2 that are by the Transit Museum on the west side. Anticipate those to be done in the first quarter. We will then rebuild and repair the ones in North End Access. Simultaneously to that, we are working with the Long Island Railroad on a joint RFP to do escalator maintenance. Both, it has to do with Long Island stations and all the escalators in Grand Central. And finally, we will put in place a program to rebuild all the escalators in Grand Central over the next 4 years. These escalators were not built to the right standards. They're not heavy-duty escalators, and we need to put them in place. They are far too critical that we're in the circumstance we're in. So that is our plan on escalators. Let me just do the diversity, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. On the diversity report, this will be discussed later at the Diversity Committee meeting. As I think I mentioned previously, we now have updated our numbers, so we're using an approach we believe accurately reflects both our population and what the target population is. We've identified, as I had said we would, a series of specific strategies to address a more aggressive outreach plan, and we'll be talking about more about this further at the Diversity Committee this afternoon. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on any of those reports.
Any questions for Howard? Jim?
Howard, could you just differentiate between what you said was going to happen within the next month or 2 on these escalators and the it sounded like you were going to completely rebuild those in the next month. Is that what you said?
What I said was, yeah, we are going to not completely rebuild. We are going to do major repairs, to the ones that are on the east side by the marketplace. We took them out of service a few weeks ago. It's been about a 4-week job. We should bring them back. We then have the same level of repair on the ones on the west side, and then we have to then repair the ones in North End Access.
Right. But then down the road...
So then down the road, we have 2 other actions. We'll have a new escalator maintenance contract, to keep them in service, and then we have to actually rebuild the escalators themselves, completely replace them with appropriate escalators, and we don't have that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Howard, Metro North action items. 2013 budget and financial plan adoption. I think we certainly reviewed the November forecast and the 2013 final proposed budget, and we need to approve it to move it on to finance.
Motion approved.
Motion made. Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Okay. Good. And then the public hearing. So let me explain what this is we need an action on. Any service change that includes more than a 25% service increase or decrease, in this case it's an increase, at a station on a given day requires a public hearing based on the standards established by the MTA Board as well as required by the FTA. So as part of our as part of our service improvement program that was approved last summer, we had major improvements which we talked about on the Hudson line. We now need a public hearing because we'll be increasing service by 25% or more at 3 stations, at Irvington, Riverdale, and Spuyten Duyvil. as well as on the Hudson Rail Link. So this is good news. This will be part of an overall change we will make in April on the Hudson line that has lots of other improvements for the entire line. So we need your action to set up the public hearing. The hearing will be on January 23rd at 5 p.m. at the Riverdale YMHA, which is 5625 Arlington Avenue in the Bronx. We've actually set up a special stop on the Hudson Rail Link if anyone wants to go to the hearing, so we need your approval to set that up.
Can I get a motion? A second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Elena?
Okay, as you can see, our work plan was included in the book at page 74. I would note that this is our last meeting jointly as both railroad committees until April. That may allow a little more time in each schedule, so we may tweak our work plan. We're going to take a look at that and see if there's some items that we'd like to expand, given that we would have a little more time. On page 80, we have our elevator escalator service report for the third quarter. I want to note that 7 of the 11 escalators taken out of service for significant repairs were returned to service late in the third quarter. Of these out-of-service units, we, of course, you can see that that was contributing to a low availability number. We have returned 2 additional units in the fourth quarter. You'll see that in the fourth quarter report next quarter, but I wanted to give you the good news in advance. 2 units, Copeg and Baldwin, still require extensive work, and they will be returned probably mid-January. I do want to pause for a moment. We are moving forward on a joint procurement. As Howard mentioned, I think that will be very effective as we go forward and try to ensure that we get the highest level of repairs and standards in terms of 24-hour reporting to get the repairs done and to keep a record of the repairs that are done by our contractors. On page 87, you'll see the Long Island Railroad's diversity report. As noted, we will be discussing that at the Diversity Committee today. I am pleased to note that we continue to focus on improving our hiring in female and minority underrepresented categories, and we have made, some slight progress, as the numbers will show. And we have done a number of targeted recruitment and outreach efforts, including attendance at an East Harlem job fair, Hostos Community College, and Harlem Week Economic Development Day. We continue to reach out, focusing a little bit on our Latino and Hispanic recruitment to try to find areas where we can more effectively achieve diversity in that category. For example, on October 18th, there was a Latino job fair that we attended as well. On page 95, as an information item, we have our track program. As you will note, that is for bridge work on the Montauk branch, Montauk bridges in Montauk North Highway and Shinnecock Canal. And we will have to take service out in order to perform those repairs. This is a $19.4 million capital project, and it's important that we revitalize those structures. And then finally, on page 96, there is a staff summary, and this will actually go to the board for approval. We're providing it as information here. I believe it'll be approved at finance. It comes out of the real estate group. And it describes work that will be done in Penn Station regarding the Moynihan Station project. As you are aware, you approved a project previously for expansion of the West End Concourse. Moynihan was able to achieve additional funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation. That grant will enable them to make improvements in the connecting corridor, and this is an area that connects the E train and the toll area, the fare area, the fare control area in front of the E-train. They will be able to make improvements there, including making the current ramp ADA accessible, which we think is a very important improvement. That is a very steep ramp, difficult for anybody to handle in a wheelchair. So we are working with New York City Transit, Moynihan, on that project. It does require us to take back space currently under lease from Vornado. We have to buy out that portion. Moynihan is funding that, and we are really the pass-through to compensate Vornado for the loss of space. You may recognize it if you walk through Penn Station. There's a little bank ATM HSBC in the location, and that will be taken out. That's really it for our information items. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Sure.
Ms. Williams, on page 85, there's an indication that putting aside the Penn Station escalators, more than half of your escalators have been taken out of service for, quote, planned long-term rehabilitation, unquote. My question, and the availabilities are all under 50% in that collection. How long is that going to take?
Well, we've been giving you updates on this, and let me just go back to my notes on that. 7 of the 11 were taken out of service, have been returned in the third quarter. 2 more were returned in the fourth quarter. That brings us to 9, and 2 left mid-January, Copaig and Baldwin.
So that by the beginning of the year, all of these will be back?
Well, two will still be out until mid-January.
Which of those?
Copaig and Baldwin.
Okay. Thank you.
But we, have really felt that this effort on long-term rehabilitation has been successful.
Any other questions?
Helena, the only thing I would add on the diversity is we might want to add, I know the job fairs are very, very important to find new people, new employees. We may want to add the Brentwood campus of Suffolk Community College as an opportunity also to provide diversity opportunities for prospective employees in Suffolk County.
Terrific.
So I would ask the railroad to do
Yes.
that also.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, and then we have our budget item as well on page 99.
Yeah, we need a motion to move the 2013 Long Island Railroad budget and financial plan for 2013 and 16 to the Finance Committee. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, if we're going to go to page 111 for our procurements.
Yeah, I think that's
Howard,
us.
you're
Yeah,
first.
we're first. We have one non-competitive procurement. This is with, let's see, TD. Well, let me say what it is. This is for alarm systems for our centralized traffic control, which is critical. So this is a proprietary system that runs all of Metro North. These are the alarms when something's wrong. It tells our rail traffic controllers what's happening. So basically, this is the OEM, and so we're requesting approval to provide this to Railware Inc., who is the manufacturer of the original system. The price came in beneath the engineer's estimate, so we think, it's something that we need to proceed with and ask your approval.
Okay, I need a motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Helena, you're non-competitive?
We have one item, and it is an $85,000 contract for a 36-month period to UNESCO for a gauge restraint measurement system, which is a component in our TC-82 track geometry vehicle, and it's used to measure, record, and analyze track geometry, and we ask for your approval. That's a competitive procurement.
Can I get a move? Get a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
And then we have one procurement for paper recycling in the amount of $66,908. And we ask for your approval of
Wait,
that.
the prior one you said was a competitive procurement?
I'm sorry, that was non-competitive.
Right, thank you.
No, I'm sorry, that was non, and this is the competitive.
Right.
This is the competitive bid. Thank you.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Michael?
Capital Construction has 4 procurement items this month, and they total $15,982,505. The items begin on page 120. There are 3 competitive items, which total $11,035,000. The first item is for a modification to the security program contract with Kratos HBE to upgrade the existing Intergraph software in the amount of $415,000. The second item is for a modification to the East Side Access Harold Structures Part 1 contract with Tudor Perini for the installation of utilities in and south of Michael Tunnel 12 for the amount of $5,520,000. The third item is for a modification to the East Side Access Plaza Substation in Queens Structures contract with Tudor Perini for the excavation of a sump pit in the Q-tip area. This is a scope transfer, and the total amount for this one is $5,100,000. We submit these items for your consideration and vote.
Okay. We got a motion, how about a second? Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
There is one, there are no non-competitive items. There is one ratification this month totaling $4,947,505. The ratification is for the award of a modification to the East Side Access Queensboard Tunnel contract with Tudor Perini for the construction of a relocated temporary Tunnel A reception pit. The item is hereby submitted for your consideration and vote.
Second?
Well, I have a question.
Gonna get a second first? Second. Okay, discussion.
Thank you. Just have a question because this seems to relate to the contract that we just voted to modify, the CH053. So I just want to briefly understand, does that contract get reduced because the scope is different? Do they come down in price? Is there any kind of penalty, or why did we need to shift this?
I'm just, you're talking about which one? The ratification or?
The ratification CQ031, in the discussion, it states that it's needed due to delays in CH053. CH053 is the one that 30 seconds ago we just approved, a modification of. I just want to understand better how they relate to each other.
Actually unrelated. This particular one has to do with completion of tunnel, if I'm correct here, is Tunnel A, that a portion of it, in order to complete it, the tunnel boring machine was supposed to go through to an area that actually has not been completed by the CH053. So what we have done is directed the granite people to kind of turn to the left or to the right, I don't remember exactly, and actually end up in an area where the machine can be extracted so it can start Tunnel D. So what we've done is we had a potential delay looking at us at about $60,000 a day if we did not do that. So we needed to get the machine out, the TBM out. So what we did we turned left and we created a pit that we could extract the machine through there. That is the amount that is negotiated here. So this this money is for granite a trailer, not for that's a total. The CH53. It's a different thing, and we're dealing with that under total different circumstances as to what exactly happened and why it was not done. I remind you that going back, CQ053 is a contract that was awarded, if I'm correct, March 2008, and at the time of the award, some of the Amtrak did not totally was not totally on board with the design. So
It's the CQ031.
no.
You just mixed the two. That's
No.
right.
CQ031 are the people that are awarded this money in order to, in effect, finish Tunnel A in a different location.
Okay, so CH053, in the third paragraph of the discussion, it says that due to delays to contract CH053, blah, blah, okay?
Right.
I just want to make sure that we're not double paying for the work.
No, definitely not. This is for granite, not for CH053 or CQ. I'm sorry, 053 CH. Whatever. Harold. I'm sorry. I keep calling it Queens. CH Harold 053 is basically not getting this money. They did not create the environment that was needed for us to be able to finish the Tunnel A in its proper location. So we needed to divert it. So we are, in fact, asked Granite, that is under CQ031, to actually we pay them, right, in order to create that other pit so we can extract the TBM and continue the work. When we did the analysis, we would have been incurring delay at $60,000 a day if we would have actually done nothing.
I got you. But you're not.
Right. That's the one I explained to you earlier.
And these due to delays, the clause I just read you, that's nothing new. This is stuff that you're managing,
nothing new.
that we're aware of.
That's-
Okay.
Yeah. That's.
Sometimes the language is a little
Yeah.
confusing.
No. It's,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Is there any other thing to come before this committee? Ira?
Yes, a comment on the operating statistics, the mean distance between failures. I'd just like to offer a compliment to Helena and especially to Mike Gelomino regarding the diesel fleet. I mean, we're gone now about 2 years where we've been meeting goal on that. And I think, they definitely deserve to be commended. I know it was some time. There's been a lot of hard work, and Mike was formerly one of the diesel dudes who was in charge of making sure that equipment met goal. And I hope to see. I'm anxious to see the November numbers because I know the diesel fleet was employed much more than it was normally in different areas. So we'll see how they did. But I thank you.
Any other item to be brought before this board? Okay, our next meetings are Monday, January 28th. Metro North will meet at 8:30, and the Long Island Railroad will meet at 9:30. I need a motion to adjourn. Carried.